One Savi from Mother SpongeBob. Thousandth day is April 30th, 2021. We're entering May at this point, and today we're gonna take a look at the major severe weather threat that could happen in Southeast next week, as well as the major wind threat that's gonna impact the Northeast. That's currently impacting the Northeast right now, by the way. It's very early in the morning, and I'm already like hearing the strong winds here in New Jersey. So we're gonna talk about that and see how much wind you'll experience and how strong the winds will be. But before I begin, make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather-related content. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather-related content. So first, let's take a look at the next potential severe weather threat in the Southeast, since it has the potential to be the most impactful and the most deadly, unfortunately. So let's take a look at the current GFS forecast model radar around 120 hours from now, and you see that there's a lot of heavy rain surrounding Louisiana, Mississippi, Arkansas, and this rain extends to even further to the northeast. And when I see precipitation this heavy in an area, it really represents how much lift there is in the atmosphere to induce that heavy downpour, because you need just very strong updrafts or just very buoyant water vapor or air molecules to induce this much rain or this high of a rainfall rate, and it's typically in the form of thunderstorms. So it's safe to assume that there's going to be just enough unstable air to induce a lot of lift in the atmosphere to create a major severe weather threat in the southeast. However, like I keep saying in a lot of my previous forecasts, we're still 120 hours out from this event happening, so a lot could certainly change within the next 5 days. However, it isn't looking good because the European model is also agreeing that we're going to see some sort of severe weather threat in the southeast. How strong will it be? That still remains the question. And will it actually happen? That's also still within the realm of possibilities that maybe we won't see a major severe weather threat at all, since we're still around 120 hours out and a lot could change. But if we were to take a look at the European model over the next several days, there's going to be a trough coming from the Northwest Pacific, and it's going to bring a lot of cold air behind it, which is typical for that to happen during this time of the year. We still do see some troughs move down into the Midwest and the Southeast and create an area of just very strong lift and convection to induce severe weather. And this won't be the exception right here, where we're going to see that trough move further down, and it's going to form a pretty formidable low pressure system right around Oklahoma. And if we were to take a look, you see that there's some severe weather sprawling through Tennessee, through Arkansas, throughout the Mississippi River Valley. And I'd assume that a lot of these thunderstorms are severe, and the severe weather enhances right around the 120 hour mark. And if we compare the location of these two low pressure systems, or at least the precipitation, they're very similar in terms of where they're bringing the precipitation. There are certainly some differences, like the European is bringing a little bit more precipitation further northward, while the GFS is leaning towards a little bit more precipitation further southward. However, for the most part, they're fairly similar and nearly exactly the same, which gives confidence that there's going to be some sort of formable low pressure system moving through Arkansas or the Mississippi River Valley, bringing severe weather in this area. So we certainly need to keep a close eye on this, because both the computer models are now around the ballpark in bringing this low pressure system right around this area to bring some severe weather in the southeast. And we're going to enter the month of May, which is the most active part of the severe weather season. It's when tornadoes are the most frequent, and there's just the perfect combination of just very strong updrafts and very cold air, and just a strong amount of instability throughout the entire United States, as it's really the perfect combination. So as a result, it seems more likely we're gonna see more severe weather threats, more frequent severe weather threats entering the month of May, and this certainly won't be the exception. Taking a look at the convective available potential energy, or the CAPE, based off of what the GFS model is forecasting over the next 5 days. Taking a look at that, you're going to see that there's pretty high, there's going to be very high levels of convective available potential energy at times throughout the Gulf Coast states. If we either were to move forward, right now you see for most of the United States it's quiet, but then we do see an area of convective energy form right around the Midwest, but it really begins to explode right around the 96-hour mark, where if we were to take a look at the convective available potential energy at its peak, we see purple readings right around Texas, even extending to Louisiana, where we're seeing potential energy upwards of nearly 5,000 joules per kilogram, and that's very concerning because when there's that much energy in the atmosphere, there has to be just very buoyant air molecules and very buoyant water vapor to create just supercell, very strong supercell thunderstorms, not even severe thunderstorms, just very potent severe thunderstorms that could increase the chances of a tornado, thanks to the differences or the stark contrast between the downdrafts that are going to be associated with this convective available potential energy and the updrafts. And typically tornadoes form right around the atmosphere in the cloud tops, where the updrafts and the downdrafts really interact with each other to create a spinning motion within the cloud tops. And we certainly could see a tornado threat increase throughout the Midwest as a result of how much potential energy there will be all throughout the United States. And we're going to see just very, very strong updrafts all throughout the Southeast right around 96-hour mark. And this continues forward, where we see the convective potential energy extend and stay right around Southeast till Wednesday of next week. So this is going to be a long-lasting event as well, where we're going to see that potential energy stay over the same area, and the strong updrafts stay over the same area in the Southeast as well. And that also raises a concern of some flooding, because we're going to see a constant downpour of thunderstorm activity throughout of the Southeast, and that's certainly concerning, especially since you guys just experienced a lot of rain right around Oklahoma, Arkansas, Missouri from this past severe weather system, and to experience another one is certainly the last thing a lot of the Midwest and the Mississippi River Valley needs at this point. So in terms of what the Storm Prediction Center is forecasting, you see by day 3, it's forecasting right around a slight to moderate chance of severe weather extending to Louisiana and Mississippi, which pretty much means it's a moderate chance. However, I would not at all be surprised if we do see that chance increase over the next several days, once we get closer to the actual event, once the computer models gain a little bit more confidence of where exactly the thunderstorms will align and how much unstable air there is, as it's been typical for that to happen throughout severe weather seasons, especially this one. I noticed where there were times where initially the Storm Prediction Center wasn't predicting much of a major severe weather threat at all, right around 4 to 3 days from now, but then it increases dramatically just right around the day of the severe weather threat. So you certainly do not want to underestimate the potential severe weather threat in the Southeast, just because it's currently slight in the day 3 mark, especially when one of the most reliable computer models, the GFS model, is forecasting just incredible levels of convective available potential energy throughout the Southeast, and that could induce just very severe weather and just very dangerous severe weather at that, or we could see large hail, damaging winds. I think a major tornado threat might be possible when we're seeing Cape readings this high, because it's been quite a while since I've seen Cape reading this high, or maybe I haven't seen it all spring. I don't remember. I think there was maybe one time where I remember the Cape levels being right around 5,000 joules per kilogram. But outside of that, this is the highest I've seen the Cape this spring throughout not only the Southeast but United States. So this is a major concern. You guys need to keep a close eye on this one because we could see a major severe weather threat that could be far worse than the Storm Prediction Center could ever imagine. And even extending to the day 4 mark, there's still a good chance of severe weather. Where if we were to take a look at that, the Storm Prediction Center is predicting not only severe weather at the day 4 range, but day 5 as well. And while it's only 15%, so you might think that, oh, this it likely won't be major beyond the 3 day mark. However, it's very rare for the Storm Prediction Center to really list an area of a severe weather possibility beyond the 3 day mark. And when it does so, it typically means that there's just very high confidence we're going to see a severe weather threat, and it could be major at that. The only reason why the percent is listed as 15% chance of happening is because we're still technically beyond the 4 day mark, so there's still a lot that could change. However, the chance of severe weather does increase once we get closer to the day, and I wouldn't be surprised if right around 4 to 5 days from now we see an extreme severe weather threat based off the Cape level. So keep that in mind throughout the Southeast. What will determine how much severe weather you'll receive is really the jet stream dip. Like always, it really all depends on how much northwesterly winds are going to be associated with this storm. And it really all depends on this low pressure system right here because it does have some sort of influence of bringing that northerly component wind further southward and bringing that cold air further southward to create some sort of thunderstorm threat throughout the United States. And it really all depends on how much northerly winds are going to be associated with this oncoming trough that's going to really set the stage for just an unstable environment. So we just have to wait and see. I'd say once we get closer to the event, like I'd say nearly the day of, we'll realize how far south this storm will turn, and that'll really give a good idea of how much severe weather you'll receive. So you guys every day need to pay close attention to this in the Southeast because each day could mean the difference between a major severe weather threat or a less major severe weather threat. However, I will say with confidence that we're going to see at least some sort of thunderstorm event throughout the Southeast. So I'd prepare for some sort of severe weather event in the Southeast since it's likely to happen since we're in the most active part of the severe weather season and there's just going to be a lot of unstable air associated with this low pressure system. So keep that in mind throughout the United States. In terms of the rainfall you could experience from these thunderstorms moving through the United States, as you can see, there's a large area over the next 5 days that's going to experience over 2 to 3 inches of rain. And this is definitely concerning because, like I said, a good portion of these areas already experienced a ton of rain throughout the Southeast. And to see more rain on top of that is just going to add insult to injury, and that's certainly the last thing you guys want. So keep that in mind. We could see another major flooding threat throughout the Southeast from these next line of thunderstorms. However, outside of the major severe weather threat in the Southeast, we're going to keep a close eye on over the next couple of days. We also need to keep track of what's currently happening in the United States or what's expected to happen for the United States. And one of those things is the major wind threat that's going to impact a lot of the Northeast for today. Taking a look at the National Weather Service hazard map, you're going to see that a good portion of the Northeast and a lot of Northeast states are currently under either wind advisories or high wind warnings. You see a lot of the United States are in the browns and the beige contours, which represent high wind warnings and wind advisories, where the lighter shade of brown is the high wind warnings, while the darker or the more brownish type color is is considered a wind advisory, and you see that the wind advisory or high wind warnings extend for several states, which include Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Connecticut, New York, New Jersey, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and north as far south as North Carolina. So it's going to impact a large area, some of the most populated sectors of the United States, including Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, with just very strong winds. So for today, you guys need to make sure to bring all those loose items inside because they could easily blow around and become projectiles to people's homes or to people's property, which you certainly don't want, or your own property, which you certainly do not want to risk leaving any loose things out, because it could not only potentially damage your or other people's property, but could potentially hurt a person, believe it or not, because under those 50 to 60 mile per hour wind gusts, that's just going to be very strong winds, and a lot of items could easily blow in winds that strong. So keep that in mind all throughout the Northeast. Taking a look at the GFS models forecast when it comes to the wind. The reason why there's going to be such strong wind for today throughout the Northeast is because we have a pretty strong, or I shouldn't say strong, but we have a pretty big trough that's going to bring a lot of cold air from Canada further southward. And obviously, since over the past several days it's just been very hot in the Northeast, we saw temperatures in the 80s yesterday and 2 days ago now, and we saw like very humid upper 70-degree temperatures today in the Northeast. Behind this trough, there's going to be temperatures near the freezing point, and when you mix very dense air with the very less dense air associated with the warm associated with warm air, that's gonna pretty much force that denser air from the cold front to filter in to that warmer air found in the Northeast, and that's gonna create the major wind threat. Taking a look at the wind map of the GFS model, you're gonna see that while for along Northeast it's light, you're gonna see that right around the let me go back. I'm way too far with this. You see that right around the 12-hour mark, you see the storm is quite formidable and quite strong at around 986 millibars, which is equivalent to around a Category 1 hurricane. So that's quite potent. And you see that all throughout the Northeast, extending through Pennsylvania, New York, and New Jersey. You see the winds are right around 20, almost 20 almost 20 miles per hour or 20 knots, which is just very strong winds. I meant to say knots. I almost said miles per hour. I apologize if I said that, but I meant to say knots. But you see that 20 knots is quite strong, and it's equivalent to 25, 30 mile per hour winds sustained. These aren't like wind gusts; these are sustained. So keep that in mind. Winds sustained should, for most of the Northeast, should be between 20 to 30 miles per hour. But of course, the major concern with this wind threat will be the wind gusts, where I expect with a storm system this strong and an unstable environment this powerful, I do expect wind gusts to be right around 60 miles per hour, which is quite strong. That could easily blow down a lot of weak branches, some weak trees as well. So you need to keep a close eye on it throughout the Northeast. And again, make sure to bring those loose things inside and make sure to be prepared for high winds, especially if you're going on any tall bridges where they're especially vulnerable to extremely strong winds. So be careful out there for tomorrow throughout the Northeast, because winds are going to be quite strong. In terms of where you'll experience the winds in the Northeast and how strong they will be in your specific area, you see that for southern New Jersey, southern southeastern Pennsylvania, and portions of the Delmarva Peninsula should experience the worst of the wind, where I expect wind gusts right around 50 to 60 miles per hour, and this includes Buffalo and Syracuse as well, right along the lakes where there's going to be lack of friction. So getting winds right around 50 to 60 miles per hour won't be very difficult. And you see in the lighter pinks, it's going to be 40 to 50, which is still quite strong. And even 30 to 40, you need to at least stay prepared for that, because loose things could easily blow around in 30-mile-per-hour winds, and this includes a 20 to 30-mile-per-hour range. But of course, the major threat will be right around New Jersey, Pennsylvania, and upstate New York, where wind gusts could exceed 60 miles per hour, which is quite strong and maybe could cause some isolated power outages. So keep in mind that throughout the United States. But yeah, guys, I guess that's it for this video. I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you want to see more weather content. Make sure to like if you like this video. Make sure to turn on post notifications if you want to see even more weather content. And I hope you guys have a good day.